Thank you so much, Sun Valley. Yeah, you can clap. That's you. You all welcomed people from all over. Oregonian here. Sorry, I'm like really proud of Eloise and that whole team. You all welcomed people into your space to talk about the most critical issue of our time and all the plethora of ways that people are engaging in this issue. But what you did is you brought youth to the forefront, and you exposed us to people who are leading this issue, but you welcomed them to sit back and pay attention to how that vision of the future is going to be constructed, depending on who's going to be most impacted by those choices. And that's really cool. The reality is that youth, we really matter. We matter. I matter. Olivia, I matter. You matter. I want you to say it. You matter.
I matter.
I matter. I matter. And so if you're not a youth, please, I implore you, what does it mean to elevate a youth voice? How do you know that they matter if you are not listening, if you're not actively listening, if you are not welcoming that space for young people to show you how they're going to be confident in their survival? How are you going to welcome that space? Just this last afternoon session, we had an amazing lineup of panelists on storytelling, and thank you so much to the Years Project for coming, being able to make it, for persevering. But in that lineup of individuals speaking about storytelling, it's interesting that I actually did raise my hand to give a question or point, I'm not really sure what, but I'll share that now. And that's, we talked about, well, what is the story being told and how is it being told? And I wanted to interject as the subject of one of the stories, and that the reason that we're not talking about Democrats or Republicans is because we're talking about something so much more than that. We're talking about survival of humanity. And in that particular case, on the Youth v. Gov case that Vic and I are both plaintiffs of, on holding our government, our federal government accountable, or our government accountable, to be quite honest, when those decisions were made, we didn't give a blank about who was in office, if they were Republican or Democrat, because we weren't born. And even when we filed this case, most of us couldn't have voted for those individuals anyways. So the story that we want to tell, is about us, the young people, being disproportionately affected. Us, the young people, feeling empowered and feeling inspired to take over spaces and asking for that invitation. That's the story that we want to tell. We want to tell a story of hope, a story of inspiration, and a story of community. That's how we're all in this. Like I said in the panel yesterday, when I first joined, I burned out at 11 because there was no one that I felt I could share this movement with. There wasn't really a movement, certainly not a youth movement. But the times have changed. And it's so amazing to think that all of us together are building that every day. But it is a movement, and it requires momentum. And so places like this, spaces like that, are constantly driving that momentum. And I encourage Sun Valley, and I encourage all entrepreneurs, business leaders, artists, brand makers, storytellers, please, how are you going to continue to show up in a way that opens up space for youth and elevates the vision that we demand and that we have every right to?
Woo!